Studies of people in their final weeks of life show they almost never regret what they did. They regret what they didn't. You still have time. Most of them thought they did too. There is a specific type of pain that only humans experience. Not physical pain, not grief, not fear. Something quieter and far more persistent. The pain of knowing you could have chosen differently. Animals do not experience this. A wolf that misses its prey does not lie awake wondering what could have been. But you do. Your brain has a feature that no other creature possesses: the ability to simulate realities that never happened, to run scenarios in your mind where you said yes instead of no, where you stayed instead of left, where you spoke instead of staying silent. This ability was supposed to help you, to learn from mistakes, to plan better next time, to avoid repeating the same failures. But something went wrong. The system that was supposed to help you improve became a system that tortures you instead. And here is the part that makes it cruel. You cannot turn it off. The alternate lives you did not live will play on a loop in your mind whether you want them to or not. Which raises a question researchers have been trying to answer for decades. If regret is universal, why do some people seem to carry almost none of it, while others are crushed by it? The answer turned out to be disturbing. Not because it was complicated, but because it was simple. The difference between people who are haunted by regret and people who are not has almost nothing to do with what they regret. It has everything to do with what they did about it. But that revelation comes later. First, you need to understand why your brain processes regret the way it does, because it is not what you think. Most people assume regret is about the past, a painful memory you cannot change, a wound you keep reopening. But neuroscientists discovered something strange. When you feel regret, the part of your brain that lights up is not the part that processes memories. It is the part that processes the future. Your brain does not dwell on the past because it cares about the past. It dwells on the past because it is trying to calculate your future. Every regret is a prediction engine in disguise. It is your mind asking, if you encounter this situation again, what should you do differently? Which is useful, except for one problem. Some situations will never come again. And your brain does not know the difference. It will keep running simulations for chances that no longer exist, people who are no longer alive, relationships that ended decades ago, opportunities that closed before you were even aware they were open. And this is where the research gets uncomfortable. Because when scientists studied what people actually regret, they found a pattern nobody expected. In the short term, people regret what they did, the embarrassing thing they said, the impulsive decision, the obvious mistake. But in the long term, that flips completely. Over time, the things you did fade. Your brain learns to rationalize them, to reframe them, to find silver linings. At least I learned something. At least it made me stronger. At least it brought me here. But the things you did not do, there is nothing to rationalize. No silver lining, no lesson learned, no story to tell. Just an absence. A blank space where a life could have been. Researchers call this the Inaction Effect. The finding that regret over inaction consistently outweighs regret over action as time passes. And when they studied people at the end of their lives, the pattern became undeniable. The regrets people carry to their deathbeds are almost never about things they did. They are about things they did not do, the love they did not express, the risk they did not take, the dream they did not pursue, the person they did not become. And here is where it gets darker. When researchers asked these dying patients if they had known this would haunt them, most said yes. They had known all along. They had sensed the importance in the moment. They had heard the quiet voice telling them this mattered, and they had ignored it anyway. Not because they were stupid, not because they were weak, but because fear has a trick it plays on all of us. It disguises itself as wisdom. It does not say, "I am afraid." It says, "Be practical." It says, "Wait until the timing is better." It says, "You have more time than you think." And it sounds so reasonable that you do not realize what is happening until the moment has passed. This is how years disappear. Not in dramatic moments of choice, but in quiet moments of postponement. Tomorrow, next month, when things settle down, when I am ready. The people on their deathbeds were never ready either. The difference was that their time to get ready ran out, which raises the real question nobody wants to ask. How do you know which of your current postponements will become your future regrets? Researchers tried to answer this. They analyzed thousands of regrets, looking for the common thread. What they found was not a list of activities. It was not about travel or career or relationships specifically. It was about something deeper. Almost every deathbed regret fit into one of four categories. The first, regrets of foundation. I wish I had done the work. I wish I had studied harder, saved money, taken care of my health, built habits that would compound. The regret of a house built on sand finally collapsing. The second, regrets of boldness. I wish I had taken the chance, started the business, asked the question, moved to the city, said what I really felt. The regret of a life lived too safely. The third, regrets of connection. I wish I had reached out, apologized, reconnected, forgiven, let someone in. The regret of a bridge never built, or a bridge burned and never rebuilt. And the fourth, regrets of authenticity. I wish I had been myself. Instead of living someone else's life, following someone else's rules, becoming someone else's version of success. The regret of a costume worn so long you forgot you were wearing it. These four categories account for nearly every regret that haunts people at the end. And here is the insight that changes everything. None of these regrets are about specific outcomes. Nobody on their deathbed said, "I wish I had made more money," or "I wish my project had succeeded," or "I wish that relationship had worked out." The regrets are not about outcomes at all. They are about attempts. People do not regret trying and failing. They regret never having tried at all. This distinction matters more than almost anything else, because it means regret is not a punishment for past failures. It is a compass pointing toward future action. Every regret you feel right now is telling you something, not about what you should have done, but about what you still can. Which brings us to the question that separates people who are crushed by regret from people who use it. When you feel regret, what do you do with it? Most people treat regret as a wound, something to cover up, avoid looking at, pretend is not there. Or worse, something to pick at obsessively without ever actually healing. But the people who transform regret do something different. They extract the information the regret contains. They ask, what does this regret reveal about what I actually value? If you regret not taking a risk, it means you value growth more than safety. If you regret not reaching out, it means you value connection more than protection. If you regret not being yourself, it means you value authenticity more than approval. Your regrets are not random. They are a perfect map of your deepest values. The things that haunt you are the things that matter most to you, which means regret is not your enemy. It is the most honest part of you telling the truth you have been trying to avoid. And here is where everything shifts. The dying patients who researchers studied all said the same thing when asked what advice they would give. Not, do not make mistakes. Not, be careful. Not, protect yourself. The advice was always some version of the same thing. Do the thing. Whatever the thing is for you, do it. Do not wait until you are ready, because you will never be ready. Do not wait until the timing is right, because the timing will never be right. Do not wait until you feel less afraid, because the fear never fully goes away. The only thing you will regret is the waiting itself. Right now, you know exactly which regrets are forming. You know the call you have been avoiding, the risk you have been postponing, the truth you have been swallowing, the person you have been pretending not to be. The question is not whether you know. The question is what you are going to do about it. The people who died full of regret did not lack the knowledge. They lacked the courage to act on what they knew. And they had convinced themselves they would find it eventually. They never did. Courage does not arrive. It is generated. In the moment you choose to move despite the fear. The dying patients all wished they had understood this sooner, that the pain of trying and failing fades, but the pain of never trying only grows. Every year you do not act, the weight increases. Every month you postpone, the question becomes harder to face. Every day you wait, the alternative life you could have lived grows more vivid and more unreachable. This is the compound interest of avoidance, and it is the trap almost everyone falls into. Because waiting feels like the safe choice. It feels like you are preserving options. But options have expiration dates, and you never know when they expire until they have. The person you wanted to apologize to gets sick. The company you wanted to start gets founded by someone else. The person you wanted to tell how you feel moves on. The body you thought you would always have breaks down. The indefinite deadline suddenly becomes very definite. This is why the research is so consistent. Across cultures, ages, backgrounds, the regrets are the same. Not what they did, but what they did not do. Not their failures, but their failures to try. Not the lives they lived, but the lives they did not let themselves live. You know which life you are not letting yourself live. You have always known. The only question left is whether you will do something about it while you still can, or whether you will become another data point in the research, another person who had the chance and let it pass, another voice in the final weeks saying, I thought I had more time. You still have time. The regret that will haunt you is forming right now, in this moment, and the only cure is motion.